Welcome back to the Authentic Human Podcast, where we explore consciousness, creation, existence, and evolution from the inside. I'm Michelle Vickers, and this is part 101 of the story of creation. So let's see what universal beings are showing up. We'll start there. I'm going to get out of my brain and get into the energy. So it's interesting today. Jesus is here. And we've got some angelics as well. Okay, and there's some star beings and universal beings. Okay. So I'm just letting them all come in. So just it takes a minute sometimes because it's like not quite filing into a room, but it's kind of similar to that, how I see them sort of showing up. So it's going to be a significant message today, whatever it happens to be, but it's significant. Why it's more significant is when more universal beings show up, it's for a number of reasons. Number one is because they want us to understand that they want all perspectives, yes, but also the support of all these universal beings. So it means that not only is this message significant, but they're holding space for you to feel the energy, right? So if just one universal being shows up, then you'll feel that one universal being. Sometimes there's like 10,000, but today we've got a few million. So again, these are just numbers. I know that it sounds like a lot, and it is, but when there's trillions and cajillions and whatever it is of them, then makes sense. But they want you to understand that today's message is significant. Okay. So ultimately, where we are as a human race is it's changing. And we know that, but it's understanding how and why that we need to step into. We need to understand. We need to come to that place. And so it's the creator actually that's speaking now. And he is going to explain, again, the current state of humanity. So this is really important because if you've been following along with the story of creation, he's done this a number of times through the story. And it's when he's sharing in this moment. Okay. So if you go back, to part 50, or I don't know exactly what number it is, but for example, and you go back, his message for part 50 was when in that moment of existence. So his message today is for in this moment of existence. But it's understanding that time doesn't exist. It's not physical. It only exists on a physical level. And so what happens is these messages transcend time and space. So when you hear them, even if you hear it, 5 months later, even if you hear it 5 years later, the wisdom is still there, but it's also understanding that it's not current. So you may not be currently working on that. But if you didn't work on that, then when you get the information and message, you can transcend it instantly. Okay. That's how universal energy works. That's how awareness works, right? When you have truth, when you receive truth from the universe, right? From universal beings with zero limitations in perspective, what happens is you instantly transcend. You can instantly become a different person based on that information. It's not a long, drawn out process where you have to process and you have to, figure out and feel into it. It's understanding that truth has the power to create freedom. What you're actually processing, what you're actually feeling into is how that truth affects your life, how it impacts who you are in the world. And so that's the part that takes time. It's not the truth and the information and the energy from the universe doesn't take time to process. It's your beliefs that you're processing. So I want to, they really want me to make sure that that's very, very clear. Okay. And so it's understanding that as a human being, you're journeying through existence. You're journeying through who you're being in this moment so that you can explore who you're meant to be, right? That's the journey. And so what their messages today, what they really want to communicate. So, and it's interesting because Jesus is stepping forward also a little bit right now. So he wants to share that the resurrection of human existence it's self-preservation. But self-preservation from a universal perspective, right? So the current human existence has this belief that self-preservation is based on protection. It's based on keeping yourself safe, setting boundaries for other people so they don't come into what you've created that is safe. And it's understanding that that's not universal self-preservation. That is part of the human dynamic, and it is part of why we continue to suffer. Because humans were designed and created to explore potential and have full awareness. So self-preservation is a recognition of your self-healing abilities. It's a recognition of your self-governance, right? This is what we're stepping back into. Self-governance is just the ability to lead. It's the ability to hold yourself in existence as you know you're meant to be. And it's recognizing that you have a mission here. You have the potential to fulfill an aspect of existence that you specifically came in to explore. And so, self-preservation is recognizing and understanding that you have to lead yourself into it, through it, and learn all along the way, because that's the whole point of existence. So self-preservation is not, how can I protect myself here? How can I keep myself safe over here? And that person is a threat to me. That institution is a threat to me. That, going outside is a threat to me. Whatever it is you've decided are your threats are going to create this dynamic where you continue to work outside of the universal system of existence. We are at a state in human existence where we are beginning a new journey. And this new journey requires you to step into your fullness, to become who you're meant to be. But it's also understanding that in order to do those things, you have to understand who you are. You have to understand existence, but you have to feel that you're willing to participate. And this is the most challenging dynamic in existence. And so what the Creator wants to offer today, what all these universal beings want to offer, is a crash course in self-preservation, okay? But from a universal perspective. And what that means is it's having the courage and the integrity to honor how you feel. Because how you feel is not the emotional reaction and getting lost in it. It's recognizing and understanding that you as a human being, okay, were given 5 senses in order for you to connect with the physical aspects of your being, okay? You were also given the opportunity to feel into the universal aspects of existence. And we continue to walk these 2 lines. And we're walking between 2 worlds right now. This is why everything is so uncomfortable, because you're walking between the world that has controlled and manipulated you for so long, while also trying to walk the path of truth. Okay. And so we've got a dynamic where people are angry, they're frustrated, they're exhausted beyond anything ever in history. Never once have I received so many emails in 1 week about people absolutely exhausted for seemingly no reason. Here's the truth, okay? Life is exhausting when we're trying to manage our physical existence. Because humans are not managers, we're explorers. We weren't created to manage anything. We've been trained to manage. Why? Because managing is ultimately what the medical system has told us, what the financial system has told us, what the education system has taught us, what the religious system has taught us. You manage your behaviors, you manage your reactions, you manage. So managing has gotten us, into this experience of constantly feeling broken, constantly feeling behind, constantly feeling like we can't get ahead. And what's happening as a result is your self-worth is tanking, but it's more than that. It's understanding and recognizing that your self-worth can't be healed because you keep setting boundaries. So you're not actually healing, you're just managing situations, right? That's this whole thing, this whole dynamic with, let me set up a boundary over here and let me set, some rules and some guidelines. And let me tell you, right? Safety and protection is managing situations. So if you're constantly thinking, for example, right? It's constantly thinking about locking your door, keeping your stuff safe, right? It's understanding and recognizing that your intention is managing the stuff you have. That's what you're doing, right? When you clean your house each week, when you put your stuff away, it's managing. We're not living, we're managing a physical human experience. And so what's happened is we're all exhausted. How can you find your inspiration? How can you possibly go out and explore your potential when you're so busy managing? It's impossible. And so this is where there's 3 aspects that are going to come into being in 2026. Okay. So the first is we're going from a civilized nation, if you will, of humans who are searching for financial freedom. Okay. Because financial freedom, again, it's all limits, it's all boundaries. So you're literally trying to figure out how to get out of this limit, and you'll never get out of it because you're focused on financial freedom, right? It's understanding and recognizing that we're going from that state, we're going into independent wealth. Independent wealth is recognition of your full potential here on earth and in existence as a universal being. You are a player in the game of existence. You are not a sheep that is allowing yourself to participate based on the rules that have been set out for you and the guidelines that you need to follow. And you're trying to figure out how to manage it. Okay. And so that's the first thing. The second thing that 2026 is going to bring about is the leadership aspect. Leadership, again, you're not telling people what to do, and you need to stop looking for someone to tell you what to do. Leadership is self-preservation. It is recognition of who you are and being able to follow through on what it is you know you're meant to do in the world. It's very simple. And yet, because of our training, okay, and when I say training, these are the education system, religious system, the financial system, and the medical system, as well as the government, who make sure they're tied up in a pretty little knot and a pretty little bow all the time. Okay. It's understanding that these systems have trained your brain strategically to follow rules. Why? So that when there are no rules, you will feel lost. You will feel like you're not good enough. You're not making the right decisions. You're not really sure if your decision, if you should follow through on it or not, because you're so used to following rules. So even though your whole self, your instincts are saying, oh my God, I don't want anyone else to tell me what to do. And then over here, the universe is going, okay, so tell us what you want. And you're like, but I don't know what I want. I got to figure it out. And I don't know. And I don't know. And I don't know. And I don't know. Here's the thing. That's what 2026, that's the second big thing that's happening this year. We are learning how to lead. Lead does not mean leadership. Lead means allowing yourself to propel yourself into exploring your potential so you can actually experience fulfillment. Okay? And the third aspect of this human resurrection that is currently unfolding and will be unfolding throughout 2026 is a new level of self-recognition, a new level of self-awareness that we haven't allowed ourselves to obtain. And obtain is the word that they're using because it really is something you have to go and you have to choose it. Like, it's in a line and you have to choose to want to participate at this level. Okay. Because self-recognition at the level that we're going means you have to witness your behaviors from a place of non-attachment. And non-attachment means you have zero expectations, but you also have zero judgment. Because expectations and judgment, those aren't universal. There is not a single universal being in existence that has ever, will ever use either of those things. They don't exist. They don't exist. But again, inside this human world that we're living in, we're trying to become evolved while using the current system. That's why it's not working. That's why you're continuously trying to overcome your challenges and you want to sit in them and you want to, process. Processing doesn't work because you're processing the wrong thing. You're focused on the message and the information that you have, but you're not understanding that what you're actually processing is recognizing that your behavior, your approach to life, and your beliefs in existence are not aligned with where you are and they're not aligned with who you are. So if they're not aligned with who you are, you can't go where you need to get to. You can't. It's impossible. And that's the challenge. We need to bring those things into alignment so that you can understand who you are and who you have the potential to be so you can actually become that. Because if you aren't recognizing who you actually are, okay, and you're wasting your time on judgment. This is the thing. People get, confused. They're like, but, I get it. It's my job and I feel really bad and I'm carrying this burden and, I keep blocking myself from this and I keep blocking myself from that. That's not truth. That's not truth. That's not the whole story. And that's a perfect example. Truth is, holy crap, there was an opportunity and I got too scared to follow through on it. Okay. So this is what happens. Most people go, oh my gosh, I keep blocking myself. I got to sit with this. I don't know how to get over this blocking. Right. That's not helpful. That's not helpful at all. Your job is to go, what the hell am I so scared of? Why did I do that? Why did I walk away? And your job is to actually feel what you're scared of. Feel it in all its raw purity. Because when you feel what you're scared of, that's when you go, oh, that's why. And it's when you own that, it's owning what you're scared of. And I mean, when I say own, I mean, you go, now I see how I have to change. Now I see how I have to change my life. I had an experience, gosh, 8 years ago, and I had to sit down and I had to look at the life that I had created because it wasn't working. It was not working. And I realized, and my fears were there, but I had to look underneath. I had to actually see what the fears were, what they were attached to, what they were connected to. And so what happened is I had to allow myself to recognize that the life that I had created was based on my fears. I was chasing clients. I was hoping they would pick me. And what happened is my entire life was suffering. I wasn't serving clients. I wasn't serving the people I knew that I was meant to. And it's really interesting because I have been doing this work for over 20 years, but I wasn't using it to propel myself forward. I was using my fears to hold myself back. That's what I was doing. And it was in that moment that I recognized how I'm meant to serve. I am not meant to serve people by having one session come to me when they're in turmoil. Why? Because people don't learn anything when we're in turmoil. Our central nervous system is overtaxed. You can't take anything in. You learn the most when you're calm. And I realized that my clients were only coming when they were in turmoil. That didn't work. So what did I need to do? I needed to tell them, every single one. I had to email my entire list and say, I can't serve you anymore. I can't do it because you're meant to learn about the truth of who you are, the truth of existence. And I can't give that to you when you're in turmoil. So my fear was I wasn't going to have any clients left and I was going to be out in the cold because I had been chasing them for so long. But it turned out what happened is within 24 hours, 48 hours, all the people who were ready, for that experience, I was speaking to their soul. I was speaking to their heart because it came from my soul. I knew what I had to do. Yes, I had to find the courage. And I also had to face the fear that I could lose everything that I had fought so hard for. And that's the point. We're not supposed to fight hard. We're not supposed to set boundaries. We're supposed to allow the universe to continue to tell our story with us every single step of the way. Why? Because then the universal energy is consistently flowing through us. We are in connection, we're communicating, and we are giving and receiving in abundance, in universal abundance. That's how it's meant to work. And everything changed. But it didn't change because I sat there and thought, how can I do this? It's because I sat there and felt into my fears and realized what I had created as a result of those fears. That's what 2026 is about. It's facing the biggest fears you have so you can stop creating your life based on fear and you can allow yourself to feel the fullness of your absolute potential. Listen, your potential isn't going to come through overnight. It's a journey and it's an experience. And you also have to keep in mind that original humans were allowed, and I'm using that word very specifically, to be here as long as they want, right? So if your beliefs are, we have a job till we're 50, 60, 75, whatever it is, and then we get sick and then we die. Guess what? That's the experience you're going to have because that's your belief. It's simple. But if your belief is aligned with universal existence, it's understanding and recognizing that you're here to fulfill your potential. And you have a free pass to be here until you've exhausted every aspect of that existence. But here's the truth. The truth is, if you are sitting there putting poison into your mouth every single day, expecting to get to do whatever you want, it doesn't work that way. That's the accountability. That's the being able to lead with authenticity, to lead with integrity, right? It's the people who sit there and eat crap all day and go, oh, I don't understand why I don't feel good. Okay. Integrity has to be there. That's the truth. That's the truth that we have to accept. You have the potential to do anything and everything you want, to literally live as long as you want. But it's not going to be because you take all the right supplements. It's not going to be because you eat all the right foods. Those are important things, but they're not the fundamental basis of the situation. The basis of the situation means you haven't set any boundaries or limits based on fear for how long you want to be here. Why do you think we've been conditioned that life happens the way it does? That you're born and you go to school and you start school at this particular age, and then you get your job, and then you have your family and whatever it is, right? So what happens if someone doesn't follow that rule? What happens if someone decides to have a baby when they're 16, 17, 18? What happens? Holy moly, the world blows up. And you're either a disgrace or you made some hard choices and you have to overcome them. That's not the truth. That is not the truth. And we have to stop with this guilt and this shame. It's understanding and recognizing that every single human in existence is here for a reason. And your choices, your experiences matter to existence. And if you're still in that belief system that says who you are isn't important enough to make an impact in existence, that you have to follow the rules that somebody else set for you, whether it was your parents or your teachers or whoever it is, society itself. We can't be angry. We can't be angry at the system for creating these rules, because that doesn't create change. It creates more trauma, more suffering, more upheaval. And it slows down the entire process. So it becomes this, it's like a dungeon. It's how I'm feeling it, right? It's like being constipated, honestly, but for years. Your energy isn't moving because all you're doing is sitting in all of these beliefs. And then all of a sudden you have a breakthrough and you see a belief and you're so excited and things start to move and they move in one direction. And then you're like, oh man, that was so great. And then you come back and you wonder why it's not flowing here. Why is it not flowing there? It's because there's another belief in the way. And that's okay. But it's not looking at it as traumatic. And oh my gosh, I have to do this again. What? It's the universe saying, come on, you got more in you. You got more potential. You got more magic. You got more awesomeness. And it's time for you to experience it. So come on, let's go. And instead, if you're in the corner going, oh, I can't believe I have to do this again, and you're angry, it's your anger that's blocking you, because anger is always fear. Anger is always fear. And it is understanding that it is fear that creates all these limits, all these boundaries, all of these, reasons and rules that you have on whether you were a good person or whether you were a not good person. But if this whole universe is based on self-governance, how would there be any rules on if you're a good person or a bad person? You would know. And if we are here as explorers to explore our potential, pretty sure there's a lot of room for mistakes. Pretty sure. And they don't even call them mistakes as universal beings. No, there's no reprimanding. There is experiences that they learned something. But here's the thing. They learn something about existence. They learn something about themselves. They learn something about their relationship with existence. And that's the point, the entire point. So right now, your job, I know this is a lot of information in one tiny little session, but here's the thing, okay? We're getting there. You're getting there. And it's going to take some courage. You're going to have to see things you don't want to see. Why? Number one, you don't want to see them because you know you have to change part of your life or all of your life, right? I had to change my entire foundation for bringing money into my space. And I had to allow myself to recognize that what I had created was based on fear, to create the opportunity to base it on truth. That's the point. You have to feel where you are, recognize the impact of your choices, but not from a poor me, not from a, oh, pity, feeling sorry for yourself experience. It's understanding and recognizing you created that. That's how powerful you are. Use that power in a different direction that actually feeds who you are and what you want, right? I was feeding fear. That didn't feel good. How would I ever share the potential of the universe and existence with my clients if I was using fear as my tool? I could only take them so far. And then I shifted. And everything in existence became based on truth. And honest to goodness, my capacity to mentor, my capacity to take people from one state of being to another became instantaneous. Why? Because that's the power of truth. It's not my power, but my power. I used my power to share the power of truth because I chose to step into my power. And the reality is you're learning how to step into your power. There's going to be people who shoot you down. There's going to be people who disagree with you. There's going to be aspects of your life that are not aligned with that truth yet. That's okay. But you do have to take action. That's leading. You have to take action and propel yourself forward. And it's based on that propelling forward needs to be based on recognizing where your fears are and what the truth is. Because it's not the opposite of your fear. And that's really important. The truth is the opportunities that the universe is offering you, the opportunities to learn about who you are and who you have the potential to be. But also, it's understanding and recognizing that every human in existence is more valuable than we'll ever know. And you have the opportunity to explore that every single day. It's just recognition. It's simple. It's kindness on a level that just recognizes human existence. Zero pity. That's the key. There has to be zero pity there. And that's the caveat. So right now, just start to notice. Notice your emotional reactions, guys, because that is where the truth is hiding. That's where your fears are hiding, in your emotional reactions, right? Anger is always fear. So when you feel that anger come up, it doesn't matter what it is. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Doesn't matter what it is. Own it. Don't own it from pity and feeling sorry for yourself. Own it to recognize that that's the life you've created. And you have the potential to create something magnificent and great. But you're going to have to see the truth first. I love you. I thank you for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you next time in part 102. See you soon. Bye for now.